This knife is totally worth buying. For what it can do at its price point, couple limitations, I love it. It has been in the Nut and Fancy project for well over 2 years now, multiple excursions. Say hello to the Gerber Big Rock super high value fixed blade knife. Now, some of you will ask, Nut and Fancy, what do you mean by super high value? I mean, you've reviewed blades that are $400 plus. What's, I don't know, super high value to you? Well, it means this. Your Big Rock will cost you around $25. How's that grab you for value? In my book, that's pretty smoking. Now, this is, of course, an overseas produced knife. You're not going to pay $25 and get a U.S. production fixed blade knife. Not like this one. Maybe like, I don't know, that big. You could do it. But not like this. If you're good with that, you fork out around $25, recommended retailer at the top there. You are going to be impressed, I think, with your Gerber Big Rock. We were. Now, this, in the traditional sense, is not a collectible knife. I think you know that. Not in the sense that it's, I don't know, possessing a second type of cool. It's a user blade. It's a beater knife. And for $25, if you break it, it rusts on you, I don't know, you lose it, you're not going to cry about it. It's meant for abuse, and that's pretty much how we used it in the Nut and Fancy project. If we talk about philosophies of use, I think its first calling is, at least the way I see the Gerber Big Rock, is a camp knife. Food preparation, maybe even skinning a few fish. That's what we used it for here in TMP, and it did well. Is it ideally suited for all of those camp tasks to include, I don't know, wilderness craft? No, I don't think any knife is. Every knife is going to be a compromise. You just choose the best blade you can, the best blade steel, and you run with it. For instance, this is not a bushcrafter's knife. Not in the purest sense. You know, you're going to carve your bowls out, your spoons. Is this a good choice for that? Well, with the grind, the blade choice, the handle, absolutely not. But for the rest of us, for camp tasks, kindling, light wilderness craft, maybe some shelter preparation, the Gerber's up to the task. I know because we did it with the blade, and it handled that task very well. So first and foremost, POU, camp knife. Maybe light wilderness blade is what I will say. I think Gerber markets it as a hunting blade. What would you think of that? Nothing fancy. I would say probably not. It is a classic drop point style, but with a hunting blade where you're going to be skinning with it, I'd prefer to have a blunter tip, not this sharp transition right here, if I'm gutting an animal, a large game animal. That's just me, though. Could you use it for that? I did not, by the way. Yeah, absolutely, you could. But I think that's kind of how Gerber markets it. And maybe some guys will find this review that have used their Big Rock skinning game out. And if you have, please, tell us about it in your comments. That would be kind of cool, actually. How about as a tactical soldier blade? What? Fancy, what are you talking about? I would say absolutely yes on the Gerber Big Rock. Here's why. Look how thin that is. Obviously a full tang blade, the Gerber Big Rock. Very thin handles. That makes it very unobtrusive to carry and to integrate into your tactical systems, i.e. LBE. And the whole thing only weighs 8 ounces. That is outstanding. It really is for a knife that is this strong. Yeah, I'm impressed with the Gerber Big Rock. With a better sheath, that's very important, I think it would be an outstanding choice for a tactical soldier blade. We'll talk about the steel, maybe some caveats with that. Don't worry, I won't forget that. How about this too? Motorcycle blade. No, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of like bike rally fights and stuff. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when we go out into the bush, the wilderness, the mountains on our bikes, we take along a blade. Usually, not always. And this would be a good one to do because it's 8 ounces. It won't weigh your dirt bike down. And if you break down out there, you can't get out, which we've come close to doing, by the way. Yeah, you'll have a fixed blade for fire preparation. Maybe if you trap some small game, I don't really think you'll be out there that long, but if you were, you could do it with that. Maybe high value collectible. I kind of mentioned off, philosophies of use with that. That is a knife that will go into your, super high value collection. The Kershaws, maybe the Gerbers. It gives you enjoyment. Yeah, it could work that way. How about the blade steel? Well, you guys know I'm not a super fan of Gerber's stainless steel. From what I know, it's about a 440A, and I hate 440A, for the record. This one I think is about 0.75 carbon, and it's 0.016 inches thick, tapering to what I think is a pretty strong tip. Is that the best steel choice? Well, for 25 bucks, I think probably yes. There's the answer on that. Sometimes guys forget about the value side. They're like, I hate the steel. All right, cool. Amp up what you're willing to pay for your knife. You know, go above $100 and you're going to get a lot more options in a fixed blade knife. I was impressed with how this particular knife steel held up in my testing. Seriously. Do I have a piece of paper to cut on? Here's an old Target. Let's see how it does. I have not resharpened it, by the way. Definitely not hair shaving sharp. But it's cutting. It's cutting, and this is after a lot of kindling preparation and beating on it with, I don't know, a baton through wood. So is it the best? No, but it's going to be easy to sharpen, relatively rust resistant. It will rust out on you, especially the bead blast finish on the Gerber Big Rock. Can't speak. Gerber Big Rock. There is a partially serrated version if you want it. I obviously prefer the plain edge. It just smokes. Easy enough to sharpen. It's an okay steel. I'm not super stoked on it. And talking about a tactical blade, a soldier's blade, I told you I'd get back to this. Guys will say, well, I don't want to be carrying around a 440A steel as my defensive weapon. Here's my reality check on that. And I've said this before in my knife reviews. That is not a realistic approach. A life-saving tool like a fixed blade knife you would use, as I always say, heaven forbid, in a life or death confrontation doesn't really have to be as uber super steel. I mean, heck, in prison they make shivs out of plexiglass and they kill people all the time. This will totally get the job done, so it really doesn't matter in that philosophy of use for a knife that isn't used like never what steel is used. Now, if you use it for other camp tasks, soldiering tasks, opening crates, then you can make an argument, I need a better steel. Or if you're in a really high moisture environment and you go, hey, I need a steel that's more rust resistant, I will give you that. I love the classic blade design though. Flat ground from the upper portion you can see here. There's a flat right here that you put on a consistent angle sharpener like the Edge Pro Apex. I love that. Talked about tip already, and I love the flat grind on it. As it comes out of box, I think the relief edge is pretty squared away. Check it out. No chips noted, which is kind of surprising for a stainless steel camp knife. I mean, we have a lot of carbon options, outstanding carbon steel camp knife options. They are going to be tougher, more resilient, and in a lot of ways holding a better edge than the stainless steel varieties, especially for the Gerber Wonder Steel. There you go. Talked about how thin it was, right? Very compact. Once upon a time, I reviewed the Gerber Profile fixed blade knife. That was a cool blade. And I peeled the handles off on that, and then Chopper wound it. It's a dude I knew back then. Wound it with the cord, 550 cord. There's a picture of it right there. That is a comfortable handle. The downside with that modification on the Gerber Profile is it no longer fits in the sheath. So that kind of sucks. But in hand, it's excellent. You can do that with your Gerber Big Rock. If you don't like the panels, you can peel them off. You can see right here, there's some mini Torx, which to me is amazing. At this price point, you can remove the handles. They're not pinned. That is stellar, in my opinion. It is kind of a grabby rubber material. I've talked about that in the reviews before. I generally don't prefer it, but on this knife with its slim presentation and how it feels in hand, I like it, and I have no plans to peel them off the Gerber Big Rock. If you're wondering, by the way, check out that gnarly cut. Awesome. Working on the 350Z. Wish I had a cooler way that I cut myself. No. You do have a guard here, choil area here, so it provides protection. Getting back to a defensive philosophy of use, you needed it. Jimping on the top sucks. It just does. I really wish it was more pronounced and not just aesthetic. But overall, keep in mind the price point. Speaking of which, here's that sheath. Also made in China, no doubt, or Taiwan, whichever. It's a very simple, we've seen it before, nylon pouch sheath. Hunting variety. The good news is it's extremely light. Maybe an ounce is all this sucker weighs. Loop over way to integrate it on your belt. Remember, this is a hunting knife. That's the way it's intended. And it's a price point knife. So this is what you're going to get. It doesn't retain water. That's good, albeit there is no drain hole. You can take care of that with a hot nail. put one in there. I think this knife, to really crank it up and make it awesome, needs a Kydex. Says me. You put a Kydex on the Big Rock like I did on the Kershaw Bear Hunter and Antelope Hunter, bang! Magic happens. But then fancy, I'm not going to spend, $50, $60 on a knife that only costs $25. Go watch my review on the Bear and Antelope Hunter, because I make the case that is actually money well spent. Because as you thrash your knife, you break it, it rusts too much, buy another one and keep using the sheath. To me, that's smart economy, especially if you're a soldier or someone who's really getting a lot of use out of their knife. Hang on the sheath, just keep replacing the blade. It's so inexpensive. I think you've gathered this already. I think the quality and the durability on the Gerber Big Rock are amazing for the price. Is the steel the top rated steel? No. Will it rust on you? Yeah, we talked about that if you don't take care of it. It is not the only game in town. I've reviewed lots of great high value knives. The Gerber profile again comes to mind. It's 8.2 ounces, 448, and it's even less money, $18. Love that knife. Cold Steel Outdoorsman Light 4116 Krupp. I'm not super fond of that steel. It's the same price, about $23. Cold Steel Long Hunter I reviewed in 2010, 4116 steel. It's light. That Long Hunter, what a great knife that is. 6.8 ounces, $20 last time I checked. If you're willing to spend some more, get a higher quality knife, a higher quality steel. Remember I told you those options are out there. The SOG Northwest Ranger AUS 8, which is cryoed, with its sheath, 9.8 ounces, and I had Red Hill Kydex make an awesome sheath for our Northwest Ranger, and that really came alive. That's a $51 knife. Add, I don't know, $50, $60 for that sheath. $110, you've got a knife that you're just going to dream about when you go to sleep at night. I would, and I already talked about the Kershaw Bear Hunter. That is now currently being made out of, that's model 1029. I think it's 8CR13 MOV steel, and it's 9.4 ounces, $21. Antelope Hunter and Bear Hunter by Kershaw. I love both of those knives. They are broader than the Gerber Big Rock. I like how this one is a little bit narrower in presentation, because in certain cutting tasks it will maneuver better, slice better. That's just me. There you go. Value is off the charts. I love the Gerber Big Rock. Go buy one now. Recommended retailer at the top. No, I don't make a dime off it. I'm just trying to hook you guys up with cool knives like this one. $25. Nut and fancy.